This social media is like an experiment to them. Well, I'm gonna try this today. I'm gonna try to be like this and see if that gets me any traction. But if you already go in with a game plan, you're like, this is who I am and this is what I do.
Etiquette required to win in real life is the same shit that you requires for you to win on social media.
But this is what actually can form from that, you know, this right here. It's a spark that happened through these very new platforms that right. are new to society. So, you know, I think 2 years ago I wasn't really much into technology, or it's like Instagram or Facebook, just slightly, just consuming it, just scrolling mindlessly, yeah. You know, right. But over the past year or so, I'm starting to find out how you can use it to your advantage, right? Mm-hmm. And I never used to think about that there was another person on the other side of the screen. I always just thought it was just like a screen and someone replying, and it's just maybe, you know, just a little bit of automation.
Right.
But I think it's very important for a lot of viewers and listeners to understand that there is someone on the other screen. It's just another human being replying to you, unless it's like an automated response or a bot or whatever, some paid system, whatever. But when I shop on you know, online, I always like when I get good responses back from executives or from managers, whatever. I'm like, wow, this person actually took the time to respond to my my request or whatever it is that I have to say. So yep. I think I like this topic of building a social media community, and that's I know you're pretty good at it. You've done you have a pretty good track record in that, and I know you're pretty active on Supplement Soup as well. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to kind of jump into this topic real quick about how we can tell people, if you want to build your brand, if you want to start your own community, that it all comes down to being human, and how we could translate that to everyday terms.
Right. I think it's key. I think one of the things is, like, social media is like a community. Like, Instagram is a community, Reddit's a community, there's a fitness industry, it's a community. And like to be good and like joining a community, like, you have to participate, right? So here's the thing: say you're moving to a new town, you don't know anyone there, you want to get to know the people, your neighbors and stuff. You won't go to the first like social event and be like, no one knows who you are. You just go to a group of people and be like, hey, help me move. Hey, help me move. Like, hey, buy my stuff right now. Hey, check me out. Like, if you do that to a group of people, like if you go to a bar, you just randomly do that, people feel like, who is this guy? Like, I don't want to. Who are you, man? I don't. Like, people think you're weird. Yep. This is what happens in social media. People just go on like random people's pages, like, hey, follow me now. Hey, do this. But they don't take the time to become part of a community, and to be part of a community when you're new, it's like, hey man, like, I'd love to invite you to my house, like, we're throwing a housewarming party, I'd love to see how I can help you out, be a good neighbor, respond to people, like, take the time to care about people's, like, goals or needs, whatever they're going through, like, so you can be a good friend. That's how we build friendships in real life. Like, you wouldn't behave like that outside of the internet, you know what I'm saying? So if we just bring that back to the internet, it's actually the same thing. And what you're saying is absolutely correct, because we were talking about that before. On the other side of the screen, when there's a customer buying something from you, or someone is DMing you, it's just another dude or someone else. Like, it's just another guy who's, someone's son, someone's brother, someone's husband. It's just like an everyday person, like people that you interact with. So it's not like something super foreign. Because I think, especially, like, there's this conversation now that, like, millennial generation is so different. Everyone's like so antisocial, they're on their phones. Yes, we're on their phones, but we're still talking to people. We're not talking to someone outside. I don't have to go outside to talk to someone. Now I can talk to someone from here, but I'm still talking to that person. So the etiquette required to win in real life is the same shit that requires for you to win on social media. And I think a great example of that is, for instance, how you and I met. Like, Justin and I, we're working together now on a platform that you've built. Justin and I have never met in real life. This is the first time we're capturing it, right? And the way we met is I think you basically wrote something about one of my products, right. And then I DM'd you, and I was like, hey man, what's going on? And then we just connected, and what I said to you, like on a DM or through text or whatever through Instagram, is the same shit I would say to someone if I met them for the first time for coffee. Like, it's not different. Like, right. I was like, oh, that's Justin, I want to get to know you, yeah. And that's how a real connection's built, right? And I think I wanted to hear a little more from you about that, because you build pretty much all your connections. Like, man, I'm gonna travel like the next few weeks, like going through the country, just meeting people that I know through Instagram that I've never met, Yeah. And then you know him, and then your wife knows them too, and it's just all like people you meet through Instagram. So,
right. Well, the
Instagram tour. This is the Instagram tour.
And the craziest thing about that is, like, if you would have told me that a year ago, I never go on Facebook. You know, I was very like anti-social media. Because yeah, I mean, you see a lot of, you know, the negative aspects of it, and I'm just the type of person that's always been like, I'm like, this is what I am here, I'm real. And then so I think sometimes when you're that way, you sort of get lost in all of the BS that, you know, can be. But if you are willing to sort of like get through it, right, that's the way it is. There's a lot of real people out there that are,
right.
I mean, everybody wants to be a part of something, especially something like fitness and things like that. I mean, it's a huge community, so everybody's kind of going through the same struggle. So when you actually connect with someone that is in the same shoes as you, you know it, and it's absolutely, I mean, it's just like, I mean, you said it perfectly. When you and I first started talking, you know, I broke down one of Prady's products, and then he sent me a message. I mean, it's happened before, you know, and you know, you get a message from someone and you're like, all right, is this a real message?
Right.
Or is it?
Yeah.
So then we exchanged some messages, and I'm like, I think he's actually like a real person, you know, and then we had a phone conversation, and it's just one of those things where, you know, if you are stick to your guns, and I think people try to change too much when they go on the internet and on social media. They stray too far away from who they really are, because you're lost in kind of this alternate reality kind of thing. But if you're the same person, you know, you pick up on that from other people. And like, I picked up on that like right away with you. I was like, and we talked on the phone, and I'm like, we might as well be sitting down and having a conversation, you know, like at a bar somewhere, like about this. The only thing that was separating us was distance at that point. I didn't think there was anything else that separated us, because I thought we were thinking along the same lines, just the way we talked about certain things. I'm like, that's a pretty powerful idea. I mean, and now I've met a lot of really good people that I'm really looking forward to like learning more about through social media, and that's something I never thought like ever would happen. No way.
Yeah, we were having a conversation yesterday. We were just talking about people on social media that we know from like DMs and people in the comments. Yeah, and it's like neither he or I have ever met those people, but we know them because we talk to them so frequently. Like, we know the same people.
That's crazy.
And it's all through social media, like through a DM, right? And like, we're building a business right now together, never met, just through DM, right? And so
it seems unreal. I mean,
he wouldn't believe me. He's like, no, it's not true. Like,
when I was like, this is no, like, you're meeting just for the first time. Are you sure? But it's like
we've already taken the steps.
Oh yeah.
Right. But this is like a real life example of a spark that happened through these very new platforms that are new to society. Like, people don't know really how to respond to it. But this is what actually can form from that. You know, this right here, partnership, friendships.
Yep. I think that's like, it's the, you know, people get the shiny new toy, you almost don't know what to do with it. And that kind of goes back to the conversation we were having earlier about, you know, just the things you learn about, you know, failures and things, your life experiences. You know, if you know yourself, then you're going to still project the same personality through social media as you would if you were just sitting here, you know, like having a conversation with your friends. And I think if, you know, as long as you can stay true to that, it is what it was made for, you know what I mean, is to connect real people with other real people. And if you can get to that core of it, I mean, it's a beautiful thing, for sure.
That's key though, because a lot of people try to be someone else on social media, like glamorous pictures and uploading a picture of them sitting on the beach in Ibiza or somewhere, some lifestyle.
In their backyard.
Yeah, in the backyard. Yeah.
A sandbox.
You know, little palm trees. But so it's staying authentic. How to stay authentic on social media and just be who you would be like while we are in person here. I think it's super key. It's important.
Yeah, it's crazy because, and I think a lot of people need to hear this, because a lot of people are like, man, how do I win on social? Like, what the hell? How do I build a big community? Like, I started a subreddit on Reddit. Like, how do I get to even like 100? Like, how do you get to a podcast where like we have like 1,000 people right now on SoundCloud? Like, we did it in like 3.5 months. And how do you get to, you know, 1,000 plus on Instagram? And it's like, it's not the hashtags that you use. People think it's a specific hashtag, or like, oh shit, I should post it on 703. But it's 7:15. Fuck. That's why. Yeah, that's why. I was like, bro, like,
I missed my window.
If you think that your content not getting seen, or you're not getting any engagement, getting any followers because you posted on 7:03 instead of 7:15, then you've already lost. Like, if you have good content, and I always say the way I built like my following is if you go on my Instagram page, like I just do stories and I have no posts. Yeah. So I like comments to everyone. I talk to everyone, and it's not because to build a following. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Let me write like like what I think, and I give my opinion, and I respond back to like literally like everyone. You know, and I try to do it as quick as I can, and like oh, that guy actually gives a shit, and it's so easy to stand out. Like people think it's hard to win on social because there's so many people. No, because if you do a little bit of effort, you're already in 99 percentile because no one does any effort. So if you write more than 2 lines, you're already in 99 percentile because everyone writes like puts an emoji or writes like nice pic or some shit, and you're like, no, I know it's not authentic. So someone writes like 2 lines, hey man, that's listen to that, and that was really cool as inspiration. Like, oh, that's awesome. I want to follow that guy because he gave a shit. So actually, I think in real life, when you're going out in like a bar and a club and you want to engage with people that you don't know, sometimes it's harder to get in front of those people and like make a connection. But people think that's easier because there's few people. And it's like, man, on social there's like millions of people, I can't win. But I think on social it's easier because in order to make a connection with someone, you don't have to do that much effort. You just have to write like more than 3 lines, and be like, you knew Justin, right? You know, like Supplement Snoop. We could call him like, oh, Supplement Snoop. Who's Supplement Snoop? This person, because you comment on all of our stuff, and now he knows Supplement Snoop in the app. Now we're like, all right, like you should come on this video. Now people are gonna see this, you're gonna get downloads, and your app's gonna grow from this stuff. From you, all that you did is like engage back with me. You could have just never responded to your DM, like fuck this shit, I don't know who this guy is, right? So, but you did. And like a small step like that, it's not about that you use a special hashtag to talk to me, it's not that you posted on 704, it's not about some social media marketing firm that you hired, you just responded. And that shit's free. Like you don't need to spend, people like, what's your budget for social media marketing? It's like 0. My budget is me, and me being a real person. Like I don't need to hire a firm for me to, get friends and like meet new people. Like I don't need to hire a firm to talk to those people. Like I just talk to them, So it's the same shit on social.
Crazy concept. Right, and I think like when you get so used to using social media, you see the same things sort of over and over again. And I think it goes back to like what we talked about, people not really knowing who they are, and they're trying. This social media is like an experiment to them. Like, well, I'm going to try this today. I'm going to try to be like this and see if that gets me any traction, or if this gets me any. But if you already go in with a game plan, you're like, this is who I am and this is what I do, and like what you do, it's easy to separate you from. That was like one of the first things I noticed was when you're looking at all these comments and these posts, you can tell when someone actually spends some time. Like when I do my Instagram posts, I mean, sometimes it takes 20 minutes, half hour for me to make a post, and I take the screenshots and I use a Canva software, and then I break everything down. I mean, it's a pain in the ass, you know what I mean? But I think that's what helps you stand out. There's been times where I've been like in a hurry and I want to post something, and I'll take some screenshots of the app and then I'll just post it like that, and people like it, but even then I'm like, it wasn't like my best effort, you know what I mean? So I really try not to do that sometimes, because I think you can tell, like people just, you're scrolling, and when something just, you have that flag that goes up, you're like, this is a little bit different, so let me take some extra time to process this. And you nailed it. Like I think that's one thing like I always noticed about you was you actually take the time. I know that you read the post, and I know that you let it sink in before you. It wasn't just, oh hey, cool pic, heart.
Yes.
It's like,
that's how to not win. Like that shit, that phase is over if that exists. Because back in everyone's trying to gain followers. So yeah, we did follow you. That shit is. There's way too many people on social right now. Yep. And I think one of the things I want to get away from this is like it's not that hard to stand out. Right. You know. Yeah. But also like a follow and a like, it's cheap. It's free. So just because someone follows or likes your shit doesn't mean that they're an engaged audience. And one of the things I think you and I were talking about, yesterday too, is like the concept of going for, depth versus width. And I still think right now on social, because people think it's still new, like we just need to go for width. Like I want to get as many followers as possible. They put like this hashtag follows for follows, and then they'll follow and unfollow people. As this is the strategy, like, you gotta leave like 3 comments and follow. I don't know what this shit is, but the point is like, okay, so now I got a new follower, but like, is that person engaged with me? Is that person gonna download my app? Is that person gonna tell other people about my product? Right. And if they're not doing that, it's a waste, right? Because I always say your product is not what you tell other people your product is. Your product is what other people tell other people your product is. And so I would rather have you know, a small coffee shop that has 100 followers and all of them love the coffee, and if that coffee place and that Instagram goes, they'll be like, fuck, I missed that. Versus, you know, a regular e-commerce store with like some apparel company, BFit Apparel, calling them out. They spam everyone, they spam us, they spam you. And with like 20,000, 50,000 followers, but like just spamming everyone, and they get almost, I don't think they get any sales, you know. So it's about having the depth. So I'd rather have fewer engaged followers than like 50,000 plus. And this is an example because like you followed us, and we know you're engaged, and now you're on the show. You're in Boston, like you flew just across the country for this, you know. So
it's crazy. You know, I was gonna say, if you want, I mean, I'm experiencing this as well. If you want to build a brand, you have to be okay with it taking 30 minutes to write a detailed post. You know, put some thought into it. You know, it takes time. Yesterday, I was actually replying to someone who left a review on my moving business, and I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, okay, let's just practice good etiquette here. So it took me 20 minutes to write a good response, to respond to something that I caught on to while I was moving this person, and they're gonna read that and be like, wow, he actually remembered that little detail about I don't know, my cat needed to be moved in a certain way or whatever, I don't know. So it's people, if you want to build an online brand, it does take that 30 minutes to write that response, and that response is just more valuable than any little bot with a little this emoji on it or something like this.
Right, so. It's true. It's not really a little bit of effort goes a long way on social media.
Right.
I think it's obvious when people actually put that effort in. Right. Even like you brought it up too earlier about when you go somewhere for a service and then you get an email, say from the person that that owns the company, just to make sure everything's okay. Even if it's like kind of like you can tell it's a generated, but even just that, I mean, it's better than nothing. You're more likely to recommend that to someone like, hey, these guys actually care about what they're doing. And when you have so many choices and so many things are so closely related, it's the little things like that make you stand out. So we had that long talk yesterday about the quality over quantity or depth versus width, and we talked about whether people would pay to follow you on Instagram and things like that, and we had like a real long conversation about, and I said, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of places that have 100,000 more paying or more followers than we do, but I was like, I know that there's a good chunk of our followers would pay to follow us because they're always engaged with us, always leaving comments, direct messages about, hey, what you're doing, like we love what you're doing, and all that stuff. And that's more important to me, much more important than having a million followers that don't really give a shit. And that's one thing I know I do when I'm like, I find myself sort of like scrolling through Instagram quickly. I know to like put it down because it's like I don't want to miss something, you know what I mean? And if I'm not paying attention, then I probably shouldn't be using it, you know what I mean? Like come back when I'm ready. Like, it'll still be there, all the people's posts and everything will be fine. So I don't want to like just scroll through something that was really important to someone because I wouldn't want them to do that to me, you know what I mean? So I always want to try to take the time and at least read it, even if I'm not going to comment. I want to let it sink in. So
it's crazy because like that we're even talking about this because that's just regular human psychology 101, right? That's like, because I went and talked to people, I was like, what do you do? How do you build friends in like real life? Like, would you go and like randomly like yell about your product, or of course like if you would DM me, hey man, download my app right now, I'd be like, no, I don't know what's going on, like like you wouldn't do that in real life. So why are you? It's the same shit. Like you just on a phone now, and I think like I hope that like resonates with people. And at the end of the day, like regular human psychology, if you want to build friends in real life, you show an interest in them, right? You're like, oh man, that's a guy I can call and he gives a shit about what I'm doing, and like it's the same shit on social. And if people want to always ROI for that, like whether it's your product or something, it's always good. It's great, right? And I had this in the beginning when I was building my company. I was like, man, I don't know, like I have a small company, and I don't know how to win in this. And so I would write a handwritten note. I wrote it to literally every customer, and after a while, and it wasn't the same. It was like a specific thing about every customer that I would know for interaction. And after a while, I was like, man, either I get more sales or I can't do the handwritten notes. So I actually closed my sales for a bit. I was like, we're gonna have to wait for 2 weeks, and I closed my sales, so I stopped making income, so I could actually keep up with all the notes. Because I was just writing myself. I didn't hire anyone to do it. It's all my own shit. But at the end of the day, like everyone, when people know Azith, my company, they know Preddy, and they know me, and so. If eventually like I want to say, hey, like I'm like part of Supplement Snoop now, and people are like, oh okay, like that's the guy, I know Preddy, and then that's why you're here. You travel here, and then so I went on a like when Instagram. I went on a tour to meet my customers. I was in New Jersey, then I was in New York, and then I did a quick stop in Montreal. The people that I've just have bought a lot of my products. I just went out and visited them, right? Yeah. So I was in New York last week, so visiting one of the guys that just bought a lot of it, and another guy. I was like, hey, you want to do our commercial? You want to be in our video? He's like, fuck yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah,
and then, so like shit like that goes a long way, and it's the same stuff you would do to make friends in like real life. Like it's not that complicated, and you don't need like 50 like softwares or like this crazy magic shit. It's just it's so overrated.
The key to winning social media is be human.
Yes.
Yes. Be human.
Yes.
Be as human as possible.
Be normal. Just be normal. No, I like that. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. It's so simple. It's just you forget about it. I mean, it's free. You can be human at any point.
Right. Because I think it like goes back to what we were talking about people just they're in too much of a hurry to be real, or they're not really sure what, it's like people go on there and they're like, all right, well, what is it that I can do today to get people's attention, rather than just being yourself and just putting out there what it's like, well, if I make like a really long, like emotional post today, I think I can get some, and you can tell when you're reading it, you're like, get out of here, like with this, it's BS.
Yeah.
And you're doing it for whatever reason. It's like that. So if you're just normal about it,
we have a word for that. It's called clowns, dude. Like if I'm like going in the classroom, oh shit, like I just want to get attention today from everyone. Like I'll go in a bar and just get attention from everyone. Like you're a fucking clown. Like what are you doing? Like you don't do that in real life, you know.
Be normal. Be normal.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so good, man.
I like it.
All right, guys. So I think that's the key to winning social media, and hopefully you guys will be able to know that authenticity is like what we're trying to do. So this interaction is built through social media. That's all of it. So Justin and I work together. Justin's here because he followed us. We're following Justin back, and I think that's the key thing here. It's still a human element and a human connection at the end of the day.